Mumuni muni mumamani mumamani muni mun. So that means like my grandmother gave birth to my mother, and my mother gave birth to me. But I think munia is like to lay eggs or something. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But mumuni muni mumamani mumamani muni mun. So winter, -36 below zero, out on a bike in the north of Finland. I had tears freeze to my cheeks. My eye froze shut one time. That was pretty intense. So like I was riding a bike and the sun was out. I mean, it's kind of interesting. The sun was out and I was just like closing my eye because the sun was, and like we're riding down a hill and like my eyes watering because it's so cold, and just like my eyelashes froze together. And so I was kind of like this and riding my bike, and I was like trying to open up my eye again, and it didn't work. And I finally got down to we got down to like this little area where we usually stashed our bikes to go contacting. And we went into the mall, just this little like shopping center, and I was just like, I gotta just like, and I didn't want to pull out my eyelashes, and it was just kind of extreme. That was probably the coldest it had ever been, and it was cold. I could go on this for days. I love Finnish food. It was really great. I think it maybe takes a little bit of getting used to in the beginning. I know that their dairy is a little bit rich, but it's so good. Like, oh, the yogurts and the ice cream is just like, it's something else out there. And I think too, pretty much every meal that we had, especially for like dinner appointments, was some sort of meat with some sort of potatoes and then some sort of like sauce or gravy on top. So like it was great. I mean, we had like meatballs all the time, and then we had, you know, like just like I said, some sort of meat with potatoes and gravy. So that was kind of, I felt like most of the entrees. But there's so many good foods out there. I mean, they've got these little like riisipuro, which is just like and karjan pierakka. Karjan pierakka is just like this little like pie that has like rice and like potatoes in it, and they just come and it's just so good. Like it's like this little like handheld pie that you can just, you know, take on the go, and you just eat them, and they're so delicious. And then I think another thing too is sinappi, which is the Finnish mustard. Let's just say that every time I go to Finland, or you know, there's sometimes that we have to buy it online so we can get it here. All my family loves sinappi now, and all my friends do too. And you know, whenever we're barbecuing or something, they're just like, "Do you have sinappi? Like, you know, we need some sinappi." So you could definitely have to try the sinappi, which is the Finnish mustard. Even if you don't like mustard, try sinappi. It might turn you around to the mustard life. But it's just so good. And then like they've got some really good desserts as well. One of the things that I really liked is memmi. It's like molasses and like some like rye as well, and it's kind of mixed up. It looks black. It almost looks like a black pudding, but then you scoop it up, put it in a bowl, and then you put cream and sugar on top of it, and it's really good. And then, you know, they have salmiakki, which is salted black licorice, which I'll be honest takes a little bit of getting used to, but you just kind of suck on that for a little bit, and it's great. So the food overall was just amazing, and I just loved everything about it. Like I said, the dairy can be a little bit heavy, but it's so good. It's the best. It'll change your life for sure. Salmon soup is it's called lohikeito in Finnish, and it changed my life forever. I mean, it's the greatest soup I've ever had in my entire life, and it's kind of fun. It's like the one thing that I've really taken back with me, and I make it for my family, you know, every so often, and just make it for friends sometimes. But it's, you know, it's just like salmon with like there's like usually some sort of like greens, like some green onion or something in there, and potatoes, and it's just in this like broth and like some cream that they add in as well. It's really good. So you definitely have to try the salmon soup, and yeah, you'll be hooked. They've got some really good sodas out there. Pomak, I think, is something you'd have to try as well. And the Dr. Pepper tastes a lot better out there. I don't know what the deal is, but definitely try some Pomak. The candies, I mean, you can just go and like, the chocolate is really good, so you can go get some Fatser chocolate and just kind of experiment with which ones you like. You know, you've got to buy a lot of different bars, but sooner or later you'll find that one. And you know, my companion and I, we used to have in the middle of the winter when we were up in Rovaniemi, which is we used to have this thing that says 800 grams a day keeps depression away. So we ate a lot of chocolate, and when it's dark outside and it's cold, it's always nice to come back and have that bar of chocolate that you can kind of go and munch on. So I think just go to the candy store, go to the convenience stores there, and pick out some candies, find something that looks good. But yeah, any sort of the Fatser bars, you're not gonna regret buying. So it was a lot of chocolate. So we were walking and riding bikes a lot. So hopefully we burned some of it off, but not the most healthy experience. I'm going to talk about a city called Vaasa, which is on the west coast of Finland, and I think it's just in an interesting area. Vaasa is on the west, where there's a lot of Swedish influence in Finland, and so there's a lot of Swedish-speaking Finns, which kind of adds a little bit of a cool new culture to kind of the Finnish culture as well. In that area, there's also a town called Pietarsaari, which is just a little bit north of Vaasa, which is almost exclusively Swedish-speaking. But in Vaasa, I would say that there's probably about 70% that are native Finnish speakers, probably another 30% or so that are actually native Swedish speakers. But it's a town of about 50,000 people, and I served there for like 9 months, and it was just one of the greatest places that I'd ever been. And I, got in there, and it's this beautiful little town right on the west coast of Finland. So it's pretty humid in the summer, pretty warm as well, and then once it gets to the winter time, there's a nice breeze that comes off of the sea there that will freeze you right to the bones. So, but it's a wonderful place. As far as safety and everything, it's a really safe place. There's just a beautiful town square where you can go, and they always have like markets and people that are selling fruit and vegetables and things like that in the summertime. And shopping is also very accessible. In that town square, there's a large supermarket and a number of other things there. When I was there, we had a car, which is kind of nice because it is pretty spread out. There's that town center, but then there's a lot of more like suburb neighborhoods around the area as well. So it was nice to have a car there. But it was just a great place, beautiful. The summer is not too hot, and it got to be about 70 to 80 degrees, and then the winter it was pretty cold. So, but with that breeze coming off too, it really made it feel a lot colder than it actually was. But it was a great experience and an awesome place to live. Obviously, with Finland having as much forest as they do, the paper industry is very big, like forest cutting down the forest and making it into wood, and making all that into paper is a big industry around that part. But in Vaasa, for example, I don't think there is too much of it's actually a pretty big college town. They've got a few universities there. So it was really fun because there's a lot of young people there. There's just a lot of Swedish influence there. Helsinki is a great place. I served there for about 4 months, and there's just so many cool places. I mean, you can always kind of go and explore the city, which is a lot of fun. It's probably it's the biggest city in Finland, which is, so there's a whole lot of things to do. There's the big town center, which is great because they have these little streetcars that you can take all over the city, which is very accessible, and so you can kind of just get on and get off whenever you need to. But it's really, the public transportation there is really great. As far as things to see, I mean, there's the Kauppatori, which is like the big market, which is right next to the sea. You can go there and get just like some food, some really good Finnish food, also just some souvenirs. It's kind of a touristy place, but really cool place to be. And then there's a little island that you can go to called Suomenlinna, which is actually where we used to play like capture the flag and stuff, which is just a lot of fun. Like, it's a really cool old castle that they used to have out there. It's like a fortress, and they even have some old cannons that are still there. And it's a must see if you're going to go to Finland, to go out there and play around on Suomenlinna. And there's just a lot of cool history there as well. And the rest of Helsinki, I mean, it's just huge. There's a lot of cool parks that you can go and see, and just a lot of good shopping. But also, I think it's really cool to go up and to see kind of northern Helsinki and up to even into Vantaa, like where the airport is. There's just a lot of cool things, a lot of really cool history around there as well. They've got some great museums, as well as the old Olympic Stadium where they held the Olympics. And so you can kind of just go around there, walk around, and see the city, which is just an amazing place. outside of Helsinki, there's a lot of like, and then outside of the big cities, everybody tries to own their own house, and they build them, and it's kind of different. They have their front doors in the backyards, so that's always takes a little bit of getting used to. But mostly in the big cities, and especially in Helsinki, everybody pretty much lives in big apartment buildings. So there's a large apartment living around there. Helsinki is very fast-paced, a lot more fast-paced than the country is. I guess that's not much of a shock. It's funny because you hear from the Northerners that the people in Helsinki are so like mean and like just very like, you know, very like city people, and then you kind of hear from the people in the south that, I mean, there's like the people in the north are just so out of touch, and like they're just not very, you know, they're not very nice and stuff. So I think there's just kind of the different cultures from the north to the south. But I mean, overall, it just seems like, I mean, my experience is that everybody's really nice in the north and the south. So Finns are genuinely pretty nice people. In Helsinki, they speak stadi, which is like it's like a slang of like Finnish, Swedish, Russian, English. It's a mix mash of so many different languages, and it's so hard to understand. So if people speak a lot of stadi in Helsinki, it's just something that's unique about Helsinki is they really speak a lot of slang, and it's sometimes you're just like, I have no idea what he just said, and that's pretty normal. So, but for the most part, people are pretty nice, and they know that you're not from there. And I don't remember a whole lot of stadi, so I don't know how many examples I'll be able to give you, but like one I remember is like, this guy was saying, he was talking about his dad, and he was saying like "faya," and we're like, what is that? You know, and it's usually "isa" or "iska." You know, it's more like the slang. They say like "iska" or "isi," but he was saying "faya," and I think it's like more of a Swedish way of saying it. And so it was just kind of one of those things that they just take a lot of the different languages and just kind of mix mash it together. They call the streetcars something different as well, but I can't remember that off the top of my head. So yeah, it's mostly spoken in Helsinki. There's not too much of a different like accent as much as just like they're just saying a lot of really off words that you know, when they string it together too, you're kind of just like, I didn't understand a whole lot of any of that. And so I guess it just kind of throws you for a loop sometimes, especially when you're serving in downtown Helsinki. But yeah, I mean, they just try to mix mash like a lot of different languages in a lot of different ways, and then they just kind of use Finnish endings and Finnish grammar on some of those words. So it's just, I mean, I just remember it being very difficult to understand. I think the general feeling towards Finns is that they're generally really shy, which I guess is true. And I think that they're generally really shy, but when you get them talking, or when you open them up, they're great people, and like, you know, they've got a good sense of humor, but also they, you know, if you need some help with the language, you can always just be like, hey, like I'm from America, like I'm trying to learn Finnish, and just like, how do you say this in Finnish, or just like, how do you pronounce this word, or like, am I saying this correctly? And they're always really willing to help. You know, they look at you and they're just like, why on earth would anybody come to Finland and learn Finnish? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't really compute to them, and so they're always really curious on what you're doing there. And if I think they really respect what you're doing, and I think it just, you know, as much as you really accept and embrace their culture, they really like to open up a lot to you as well. The one thing that I can always go back to, though, is if you ever need a drink of water and you're knocking on a door, you know, they're always so kind. You know, sometimes they'll offer just like, hey, do you need a water or anything? But if you ever ask them for anything, just like, hey, can I just get a glass of water? We've been out here all day. They're just like, oh yeah, like of course. So even if they're not interested in hearing your message, they're always there to give you a glass of water or something. And one time we were riding our bikes, and it was like -25, and we were just freezing. We'd been on our bikes for way too long, and so we walked into just like a library to get warm for just a little bit, and the people there were just like, hey, are you okay? Like, you know, you look really cold. And we're just like, yeah, like we're fine. And but you know, just like they've got a genuine care, and they, you know, I think one of the things that I really like about their culture and just the people as well is that they know where they come from, and they're very, I guess, just like proud of their heritage. And I think that a lot of that comes back to they fought off the Russians in the Winter War, you know, in the late 30s and early 40s and that was just kind of a miraculous thing that, you know, they've defended their country against a huge army of Russians that were trying to invade. And they talk about this thing called sisu, which is just like, doesn't really have a great translation, but it's something like guts, or just like fortitude, or like pride, of just like remembering kind of what you're doing and remembering where you're coming from, and just like push hard and always work hard, and have that sisu, that Suomen sisu of just like working hard and making sure that you're doing the right things. And I mean, I just loved it, and they're, like I said, they're just really genuinely very nice people and want to help out. I think there's a lot of cool traditions that they have. One of the things I really loved on like All Saints Day or Halloween, and then also on Christmas, they take candles and they go and light them by the graves of their ancestors. So you can go out there and walk around just a graveyard, and it's all lit up with these candles. And I think it's just a really cool opportunity that they have to go and to remember their history and to remember their heritage. But also it's a beautiful view for just to walk through there, and it's very, very cool. Another thing too on New Year's that they do is they heat up, like, I think it's tin on like a stove, and they give you like this little piece of tin, and you heat it up on the stove until it's like liquid, and then you throw it into a bucket, like a sauna bucket, like full of ice water. And so you heat it up and you throw it in, and then you take it out and you hold it up and you put a light behind it, and then it's supposed to show you like what the next year is going to be like. So I think I only did it 1 year, but I think I had like, mine looked like a chicken, so I can't remember what we decided on that I was going to eat a lot of chicken, or that maybe I was a chicken. I'm not sure exactly, but it was just a lot of fun, and you can kind of just joke around. Christmas is always a really big deal as well, and it's amazing. I was actually able to, in Rovaniemi, the place where I served, they have a Santa Claus village, and every year on the 23rd, Santa Claus leaves for his journey around the world. And so obviously Santa Claus lives in this village in Rovaniemi, which many people don't know, but they do now. And so it was really cool because he just gets off on, he just gets in his sled and just starts riding off and starts his journey around the world. And so Finns actually celebrate Big Christmas on Christmas Eve on the 24th. That's when they get all their presents, and it's when they have like their big meals and stuff. And then on the 25th, it's just kind of another day to eat and just kind of eat the leftovers of whatever they had left from the day before. And as well, I think just like the sports and the games that they play, hockey's really big, but you also play sahlu, which is like floorball. It's kind of like floor hockey. When you're a greenie, you kind of come out and you say things just because you're so used to English that it's hard to say some of the vowels in the right way. And so you'd say like, mina tiedän, että tämä kirkko on totta, and just like that kind of hurts me to say it that way, but minä tiedän, että Jesus Kristus on minun vapahtaja. Yeah, I mean, just like the T's are, I think with newbies are very like they say them a lot, which in Finnish it's a little bit different. And so I can kind of just try my best Finnish accent, which is, no, minä tiedän, että tämä kirkko on totta, ja minä tiedän, että mun vapahtaja elää. Ja tiedän, että tämä kirkko on totta. And just kind of just the T's, and I guess just some of the vowels that kind of maybe get lost a little bit. Just trying to transition from speaking English so much to then just hearing how Finns would say it, and but they're very monotone and as well. And so sometimes new missionaries will be like, "Minä tiedän, että tämä kirkko on totta," and it's just like, they say it a lot more like, "Minä tiedän, että tämä kirkko on totta."